Go on.
I'm not all here, so we're gonna start anyway, though. Give us a pledge of allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Okay. We have a quorum. Is there any public input this evening? Keep down you two. All right, then, review of the October 9th minutes. I assume we all got them. We all read the draft. Any additions, deletions, changes?
On the first page, Karen, in the 5th line from the bottom, I think you have an extra in.
Okay.
Grammar, let's see.
Doing, well, I was saying in-house versus a contractor, you know what I mean? Doing it in-house, but I know what you're saying.
No, it's
But it just
in-house.
says in-house.
Oh, see, I even read it twice the wrong way. Okay, thank you.
On page 4, under old business,
Yes.
expenses endured, or did you mean incurred? Incurred.
Where are we? Let's see. I'm sorry, could you point out exactly what?
It's the second line down under old business. It says other expenses endured.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the first line of that paragraph should read, Guy Pike spoke about his preference about putting the budgets together in one unit like, as
Oh,
opposed to
yes,
like.
thank you. Yeah.
That's all I saw.
No other changes forthcoming then? I would entertain a motion to approve.
So move.
Second?
Those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, thank you. I really have nothing tonight for chairman's comments. We'll move right into the budget reviews. And we'll start with Jack, 4240.
The actual budget inside went down $1,000 for the vehicle maintenance because I have a new truck now, so that went down to $1,000. Everything else stayed the same, and the salary went up based on the selectmen's input.
How many miles a year do you put on the truck?
I do about between 900 and 1,000 miles a month.
Okay. And what's the warranty on the truck? Well, I'm not being picky, but I'm thinking to myself, we have a brand new truck and we have $1,000 for maintenance, well, that's, 2 oil changes a year, and I mean, what else needs to be maintained on the truck for the first
I
year?
do a sticker, and this year I'm going to actually get it wax undercoated
Okay,
in Concord the 1st of November.
all right, this is a question, maybe.
Yeah.
Money well spent.
I came up the road that the salary increase is a 6.7% increase. Is that,
It's
It's
53 pay weeks.
Well, 1.9% of it is because of the 53rd
oh, the
week.
extra pay week, yeah, I forgot about that.
Then you
Yeah.
had 2.7. Did you jump a bracket?
I guess so. I was given the information, I didn't do it. So.
So,
Just asking.
Good question.
Yeah, that's right, it's 53 weeks.
Other questions for Jack? Forthcoming then?
I move that we accept the budget for 4240 in the amount of $65,441.
I'll second that.
We moved and seconded. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
One then, thank you.
Thank you.
We have a chief of police sighting out there, can I see this, Karen?
No, but I'll go get them for you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Is it because of the salary that you want to, that you voted no? I'm just curious.
In keeping with Chairman Hunt's philosophy that once the vote is taken, we'll not discuss why we voted yes or no anymore, I will decline to comment.
I was just
If
wondering.
Chairman Hunt wishes to amend that and allow me to comment at this time, I will.
No, I didn't say that, I never said that I was going to disallow comments, I was just not going to.
Oh, you were not going to
I was
ask?
not posing questions
Okay.
on an individual basis.
Yes, I'll explain that. When Bob Berry was actually approached about taking the job, he said he would do that because it's really not a full-time job. And I believe that it really isn't. There have been other tasks delegated to the codes officer to make it a full-time job, but I don't think we need a full-time codes officer from what I've observed.
Okay. I was just, my reason for asking was just to see how you thought maybe we could make it better. And you just told me.
Very good.
Thank you.
I'm glad I could help. And sorry for my misunderstanding.
No, that's fine, no, as I said at the very beginning, I just think it's a little redundant to ask people their opinion after the fact, so I don't know.
I do too.
Except that I wouldn't have known until after the vote that you were going to vote against it.
Waiting on Chief, I'm wondering if there's anything we can do out of order so we can get out of the way.
Do you want to do the planning? Is somebody going to talk on the planning and zoning budget?
Well, there's nobody listed. I guess it might be one of the selectmen. After all, this is their budget.
4191?
I think we're gonna do that because I don't know where the chief is gonna be, so why don't we just, we'll move on and we will deal with 4191 first, then, please.
He'll be here in a few minutes.
I beg pardon?
He'll be here in a few minutes.
Okay, so,
We're 83% through the year and they've spent 91% of their budget. So does that mean they're going to be over budget this year in their payroll?
Are we on planning now?
yes,
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything about that. So I don't know. But it does look like the administrative assistant perilously close to being over budget. Lakes Region Planning Commission's a fee, so that's not gonna change.
Right.
Postage is already over. And advertising is over. So there's been more activity there.
we have a, while we're, do you have any status on the master plan, by the way? Where we are, or where it's going, or?
I think we did encumber some funds last year to finish it up. And I think we're gonna be done with it.
We're not gonna go out to the public, in the sense that it's been almost, that they had that survey which was kind of
Right.
nondescript and didn't really give any sense of direction. It was, I was very critical of the previous survey that was sent out. I didn't think it really, and we've never had a public meeting of
Right, I
the.
think that in order to have a actual change in the master plan, there has to be a public meeting and a
Yeah.
vote. There's still $1,500 if you go to line 680.
Mhm.
So there's still some work that's gonna get done on it. But I'd have to have Bill comment. I'm not the selectman rep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just been a long time since, since the survey was taken. It's been a couple of years.
Right.
And we really have no public, or at least I don't have any public sense as to where the the residents go and what they're thinking about, what they want to do with their community. And
Did you all get a copy of the minutes that went from this budget? Because I can read you the minutes that when we discussed it
Yeah, I actually just tucked that in there for you, Chip, since you do this lesson tonight.
on the 15th, when we were discussing 4191. The administrative assistant salary went up from 67 to 13, and it reflects a revised revision in the pay table as well as the 53 weeks. The tuition reimbursement went from 200 to 500 because it's a new planning board for all intents and purposes, so there's going to be more attendees. Advertising, the request from 5 to 9 is based on the increased applicant activity that requires advertising. Lakes Region Planning Commission increased from $42.95 to $44.96, and that's their fee is increasing by that much. So it's a,
Oh, so with Lakes Region Planning Commission, that'd be our dues to be?
right.
Okay.
Part of that. The 2008, so the report on the master plan was that the request for $1,500 is for an annual review that should be done subsequently each year. So my assumption from that comment in the minutes is that the master plan is going to be done.
Is going to be done this year.
This year, yep.
and it's merely an update of the original, and it was done
Right.
6 years ago.
Was it only 6? It seemed like it was a lot longer than that.
I think it's been 6 or 7 years since. It might have been longer.
Well, I guess my feeling
I'll
was,
have Marcus and, or Selectman Marcus.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's fair, yeah.
no, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but you know, every year there's money expended.
Would you buy?
What do we buy, exactly? What have we seen for the dollars going out the door?
Do you want to leave this one alone until the next time we meet?
Well, if we could get some more information, I'd feel more comfortable about that. I mean,
Okay.
it's not a, once again, it's not a huge line item in the process, but
Right.
it's an ongoing question mark. So if it's all right with the rest of the committee, I would just be happy to sort of table this one until we get some more information.
I agree with that. I also think that based on how much has been spent in the past, that even though some of these line items are very small, and how much has been spent this year, I think that it could be decreased. I mean, the bottom line is showing an 8.5% increase over last year, and it's only $1,000, but it's, we need to be mindful that there are other areas where there are going to be increases that
And I'd
are
like to
better
get
supported.
I'd like to get an update on where we are in the whole process of the update. Because, are we going to go out for new surveys? Are we going to have public meetings or things like that, so we can get the input of the community and do the update? And just, what's the schedule and where are we going with it?
I second that. I just, every time I ask, I feel as though somebody dances around it. And there, in the master plan review documentation they gave us basically just is the same,
So what is your position that the whole plan and zoning budget needs to be?
Well, the lines that
reduced?
I think, I think the advertising, supplies, the books and periodicals, and the recording fees could all use a little bit of a haircut.
And I'd like to know what subdivision engineering fees entails. Why are we engineering subdivisions?
We,
I would think
Well,
that would be done by,
right, but you have to, there's two parts to that. So if you're a developer and you're subdividing,
Mhm.
you're required to pay for the town's engineer at the end of the day. But we have to budget here in order to pay the engineer, and then the reimbursement from the developer comes back as revenue. So it's not gonna.
so the town's engineer would review the subdivision that was done by another
Right,
entity?
right,
Okay.
right.
Well,
Thank you.
although it does say this item is handled in the same manner as reporting fees, which is just what you said.
Mhm.
Right.
And usage is based on the number of subdivision applications submitted to the board that require review by the town's engineer. But I thought I read somewhere that they were having them pay those fees directly to the engineering service. Where did I read that? Oh, I'm sorry, that was under the reporting fee.
So some of that comes back. You know, the recording fee's gonna come back, the engineering fee's gonna come back. The advertisement's statutory. I mean, if somebody comes into the planning board, they have to notice the public.
No, that's true, but this year, to date, they've only spent $636. And if you look at prior years, they've never spent more than $122 in a year.
But they're currently $136 over budget.
So make it $700 instead of $900. I mean, that's,
That's certainly your prerogative, you can do whatever you like there. But,
I'm just making, you know, that's my opinion.
yeah, I think,
Well,
I'm not as concerned about the $200 on that line as maybe some other ones.
I'd like to make the motion that we table the discussion of 4191 until the next meeting when more information is available.
I'll
is there a
second it.
second?
And
Second.
I'll get the selectmen's representative.
Very good. Moved and seconded, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. So we had a chief and then we lost the chief. So- Chair. Good evening. Well, it's a salutation on the weather report.
Yeah, it's definitely not nice up there, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, we are now dealing with 4240. Well, should be 4210. Department. How did you get to where you are?
Which way, long time ago, no. So, obviously, some of the budget items are based upon the, for example, salaries, administrative assistant. I'll start with chief salary, that's the next step, would be, that was approved by the selectmen as far as their budget and their pay scales. Officer salaries, so that includes, probably the big difference there is that there's 1,000 hours of a part-time, either a part-time or 2 part-time officers. The reason I added those in is because obviously we've been short-staffed for a little bit, and we're going to be short-staffed for a little bit longer. We're going through a hiring process to fill the vacancy, and I expect the other person that's been on leave to come back, but I also expect that there'll be significant times when that person will have to take off still. So in order to have our staffing level hopefully close to where it was, filling that gap would be the part-time officers.
Out of curiosity, where are you finding part-time officers? Are you taking other department people on board?
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
I did have somebody who contacted me today, so I will chat with them further. So in that, one of the things we do is the Great Bay Community College down in, it's at Pease now, but it used to be in Stratham Community College. They do a police test. There were a couple people that were looking for part-time hours in that group. I've sent out emails, we'll see what comes of that.
Now, these are people who've been to the academy?
No, these have not. Those ones have not. You know, what would be ideal if I could find somebody who's retired that wanted to keep working some hours. As it is today, it's 32 hours a week. Next year, it'll be 26 hours a week they can work and maintain their retirement status. However, so that's one possibility if we could. If not, if it's somebody say they're working full-time, it's gonna limit how many hours will be available. But it's a tough hiring market for law enforcement, as it is for a lot of businesses anyways. 2.7 or so unemployment.
How are you coming with the replacement?
We had oral board Saturday, and the sergeant and I were just talking today. We had 4 people in. One is certified at this point, so we're going to be looking at that. I say at this point because after 30 days leaving, it lapses and you have to go back to the academy and ask for it to be reinstated. So we're working on that process. There were 4 people. There were 2 others that were interested, but they were taking tests somewhere else that particular time. There's sent out probably about 50 or 60 invites, and 2 of them were taking tests somewhere else. There were 2 or 3 that were still in the military or in college, so they weren't available. So that's 2 of those that were in the military weren't going to be out until next year sometime anyways. So the reason to rush it and try and get it done is we have to have, if they're not certified, I have to have the stuff in before the end of November, or else I can't get into the January academy. And earlier the better, because I know a number of other agencies are submitting people too, and they have a cap on the number that they can accept. The academy starts in, well, they would have testing mid to the end of December, so I think it's around the 20th. They have to go down for testing at the academy, and then it starts in January, ends the end of April, and then there still would be field training that would have to go on. So we're on a kind of a, hopefully, well, it's a tight schedule, but we're working on it.
Has the officer that is leaving gone yet? Is he still?
Yes.
He's gone?
Yes.
Okay, so we're down 1 full body right now.
Essentially, we're down 2, but yes.
Well, 2, yes, but 1.
One is vacant,
Mm-hmm.
the other is on leave.
So how are you handling your hours now?
Well, a lot of hours being covered by the Sheriff's Department and State Police.
Do we get billed for that?
No. But they're also coming from wherever if they're busy. So they're not in town, and they're not gonna handle a lot of things that we handle, if you will. But
Can you tell me a little bit about your technology requests this year?
which line are you talking about?
Well, I'm looking at the, under new equipment, I believe.
New equipment.
Car
So,
modems, mobile
yeah.
equipment, internet for police, add interconnection, that sort of thing.
yeah, okay, so the mobile equipment, car modems, so right now we use USB cellular modems for our data terminals in the cruisers. They don't get great coverage in town from a combination of factors. One, we don't have great coverage in town. Second reason is because they're inside the vehicle and they're just a USB stick that sticks out. They're not gonna get great coverage because their antenna isn't the best. What we've found with other towns, Moultonborough, Madison, I believe Ospey, I know Wolfboro, using the modems with an antenna on the roof gets significantly better coverage. They'll
So you're
also-
turning a cruiser becomes a mobile hotspot.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Yeah, okay, no, I'm just,
Well, we can't, well, we can for our own devices. We have to be careful because we have to be compliant with criminal justice information, CJIS information. So it's not necessarily a hotspot like people can hook up.
no, I mean, for example, when I bought a car, for the first 6 months,
Yeah.
it had its
Yeah,
own
yeah,
Wi-Fi.
cellular stuff, yeah.
So your stuff, I didn't know this is what we're taking the,
We've already got it, it just doesn't work that way.
oh, okay.
I'm trying to improve what we got for reception so we can cover more areas. It's, it is, we don't do it through Wi-Fi, we do it through, it's directly into a USB port and we don't broadcast it out, so our other devices can't connect to it. It's only for that particular data terminal, for security reasons. So what other towns have found is that by doing that, they've got a lot better coverage. Places that they couldn't get any cellular coverage, they had strong coverage, and they're able to maintain connectivity. Portables, that's still, I gotta check with, so they add portables, that's probably the bigger part, well, that's probably about half the price right there is adding the portables. So right now, we've got 4 portables. Adding 2 officers, giving them a portable each, those are about $3,500 each. So that's a significant cost. I'm trying to find out, but I don't think it's gonna work if our old ones can be programmed to be compatible. I think that's why the state got a federal grant to give us the new ones, because that was, we got 3. But if we add 2 officers, I mean, they're gonna need a portable radio, and that's, like I said, $3,300 apiece.
What's your preference, to get 2 or 1
2 or 1 officers?
officers?
My preference is to have the hours. So, I mean, if I have somebody that is only gonna be able to work a shift or 2 a week, then that's not really a huge help as opposed to, that's why I said if I had somebody as a retiree and they could work like 20 hours a week, that'd be better than somebody who having to hire, a lot of departments, if you find the right person and they're willing to work, like Center Harbor has 1 officer who likes having, at least the last couple of winters, to go take trips. So she works, she's young, she's not, so she works the summer a lot of hours, which is our busy time too, which is great. But if not, you end up with somebody that's only gonna be able to work a shift or 2 a week, especially if they're working, say they're working in a town near here, well, in the summertime, they're gonna be busy too, and they're gonna be needing coverage there. So a lot of times you'll get, departments that are looking to fill essentially a shift, will have 4 or 5 part-time officers just to try and get that coverage going. But my preference is to have all 4 back and working and not have to deal with that, but that's my preference. But I think the unknown is, by next summer, we'll have 3 full-time, well, all 4 will, even if we send somebody to the academy should be by the end of June, get done, May, June, should be by the end of June, that 4th officer that had gone to the academy will be back working. The question though is the 3rd officer, how much time they're gonna need off for the next umpteen time. And that's, I guess my point is, at that point, maybe only 1 shift a week is all I need, or a couple shifts a week to fill that in. Or maybe I won't need any, it depends on how available people are, but that's, it's very difficult to guess how much time that person's gonna need.
So you figure you're gonna be looking at this management problem for the next couple of months?
It could be years. Don't know.
You don't know.
And the telephone,
So we're adding two things on the telephone, make it go. One, we're adding for another car, a cellular service for that car. And internet. So right now what happens is we get billed, the town gets billed, let's say it's like $60 or $70 a month for our internet service, but it comes out of the selectmen's budget, not out of my budget. So one of the problems with that service, it's an old Time Warner, well actually probably predated that, Adelphia home residential service. It gives, the download speed isn't the problem, it's the upload speed, when I have to upload stuff to the sheriff's office. Our record system, we have to have a static IP address. When we upload that, it's throttled back pretty slow. So, in fact, if we were to go to Spectrum and say we need service now, they wouldn't offer us that speed because that's a residential service only. If we came to them and said, you know, I want a new facility, if we were asking for a new service, the business class is faster and it would be more expensive to go with it. So what I propose is taking it out of the selectmen's budget, putting it over here, so it's a double whammy. One, it goes up, and two, it shows up on my budget, whereas before it was out of the town hall budget. I could have just said, I like to increase it and leave it over there. But then adding the cellular, that's for the other vehicle. So when we do the modems, the modem is just the hardware itself and the install. We actually have to get a SIM card that would give us the connectivity that we need to use the computer in the vehicles. And obviously there's a fee for that. Hopefully, I'm looking, as it is right now, I know they're doing a study on the coverage for different services. I don't know if AT&T was mapped out, AT&T being significant because they got the FirstNet, first responder network, federal grant, state opted in. If they get the coverage, there might be some advantages to us for that, being able to have that connectivity. It also will limit the phones they're using, from what I understand, their cell phones, you actually push to talk and they can replace your radios and it give better coverage perhaps than our radio system. It may alleviate some of our issues with dead spots with our radios through kind of like the old Nextel push to talk.
So this is with AT&T?
FirstNet is offering this, but they've got to have the coverage here first before I can flip over. But yes, that's the theory, and if they get band 14 up, we'll have even greater penetration into locations that we don't have now. Band 14 gives better penetration into buildings. One of the places we have a dead spot is the school, the fire station. And we don't have great coverage here. We drop our cellular service here, which shows up on our MDTs. Not as critical because we're inside, we can use, but if we're outside in the parking lot, we lose our connectivity for that. So it's twofold reason that line went up. One, we're taking it out at that particular line for telephones. That's where our cellular network shows up. We took it out of the town budget and it's increased for speed. Like I said, the download speed is an issue, it's the upload. We're like 800 kilobytes per second, and if we're uploading photos, which we attach to our reports because it's saved up on the server at dispatch at Carroll County, it drops off and it takes a long time to send photos. That's the problem we're having. It's not we can do whatever we need for reports, we can do whatever we need for virtually everything else. It's the photos that take a long time. And
this is with Spectrum, right?
Huh?
This is with
Spectrum, yeah.
Well, we all have digital TV now.
We don't have digital TV. We have a TV, but it's only hooked up for videos.
No, no, I was being facetious.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
All being bombarded every time you turn on your television.
and you have to get the converter now.
I see, I'm looking at the last line, repairs and maintenance. You have a lot of stuff upcoming in the last quarter.
It's partly because we'd have, the plan is to keep the Cruiser, the Charger next year. So we'd have 5 vehicles, so it adds some expense to it. We've done some, now expenses are, let's see, as of, I don't know what the date was on this.
So I'm looking at the, set as of October.
Yeah, as of October, I get 3380 on mine.
Yes.
You get the same thing. Well, I just spent about 1,600 on that Charger.
Okay.
And we've got a few other things that are gonna be done. That probably we can look at, because I think I'm gonna be under the 7,400. Like I said, we just put 15 something into the Charger. You know, I've gotta do some tires. Obviously, there'll be a few other minor things between now and the end of the year. I don't think there'll be anything too significant though. So we might be able to do something there. Although, yeah, one year we had a pretty heavy hit, 2014, but other than that, we've been around 6,000, so we might be able to do something there. Maybe not raise that one up, looking at it now. I was kind of worried about, you know, some of the expenses on the vehicles as they get older, but I imagine we can probably take something off that one. Maybe keep it the same as it is this year. And I'd like to, obviously, the portables issue, that new equipment line, I need to check and see what we can do with that, because I have a feeling that we might only do one. There's a possibility too, so that would save a significant amount. And I gotta check on the old radio, see if it's the old, everything's software driven now, so it's like, you know, like a computer. After a few years, they'll make parts and they won't.
What goes into investigation supplies that makes it more than 2,500?
Investigation supplies, what's that put in there?
25,680.
Yeah, so that, let's see.
Budget this year is 1,000.
Yes, I was gonna try doing, so I added 1,500 transcriptions. We had a case where I tried to do transcriptions this year, and the estimate was $1,500 to do them, for videos of interviews. That was the increase there, was on just transcription service. We didn't do it, we just bogged down, and but I don't even know if it's been done yet, to be honest. It went up to the county attorney's office untranscribed, which they weren't real thrilled about, but that was the increase, was just to add for transcriptions. All it takes is a couple of cases with some.
So this is a video transcription that you do in-house?
This is a video transcription. We would send it out to a company to transcribe it over. They do it like overnight almost.
You do like a hard copy? A paper copy?
Paper copy. They
Okay.
take the video, or they take an audio recording and they'll spit it back to you. I actually looked at software to do it because I thought it would do it. According to the company, it won't do it. Dragon, naturally speaking, it works for one voice, not for two voices going in an interview situation. I thought that'd be great, 'cause it said it would do it online, but when I actually talked to the company, they said, no, it won't. Not reliably enough to do it unless you, they said you can sometimes parrot it, but it doesn't seem like a,
I noticed that the selectmen lowered the officers' salary lines and the overtime lines.
yes.
What was that about?
Because on the salary line, they changed the rates down from what I had done, and it's, I think it's viable. What they had done, I had done it based upon everybody staying as we were, if you will, no changes. Somebody left, the presumption is the person coming in will not be making as much as the person that left. So that's why they dropped that down.
So, and you have 4 full-time, is that right, and 2 part-time? Or that's what you're
Officer
proposing?
salaries, yes.
And what's our capacity, I guess, when you, so is it 24/7, is that what you're trying to figure out, like 40 hours for
To
everybody?
do 24/7, we would need 6 officers,
Okay, and so what did we have before?
4.
We had 4, so you're adding 2.
We've actually had 4 and a part-time in the past. It's quite a while ago with when a couple of people left, they stayed on part-time, but they didn't really do a whole lot of shifts, so it didn't, you wouldn't have noticed a big difference.
So we had 4 last year?
Yes,
before?
4 full-time last year.
And then now we're adding 2 part-time, and we're trying to hire back the 2 full-time, or not them, but hire additional.
We're trying to get back to 4 full-time.
Hmm.
And so I strongly suspect, I believe, in fact, I probably think it's a sure bet that one of those full-time officers will need to take a significant amount of time still as far as leave. So I think it's like, so my goal in adding the part-timers was not to get us with extra hours, although it's a possibility and when it's busy. It's more to make sure that we had 4, back to the 4 coverage, fill that gap.
So then, but this budget is based on if that's full. So like right now, we're obviously not paying for 4 people, right? We're paying for 2.
We're paying for 3, and the 4th, I think I still have a couple weeks left to make up for, well, he got a lump sum at the end, so that comes out of my salary line, so. So to offset that, I still couldn't, but if somebody came in today, I'd be behind. I'm still like, that lump sum that went out is still, I think that was about 5 weeks or so, so that was, so
The
it's,
third officer's actually cap in the back, so that's an in-house.
but it's showing up on my budget, I guess, as an expense. So
It's such
I
a
guess,
big jump.
huh?
It's just such a big jump on the.
It's
that
a
one line item
combination
that's-
of, you know, salary increases plus adding the 2 officers. The 2 officers alone is, there's 23,000, about 22,600 right there.
7%.
And it's also the fact that next year's a 53.
And it's, that's the other problem for next year, is we have 53 checks next year,
Okay.
so that adds.
The fire department was in the, and we were talking about turnout gear, okay? What does it cost for uniforms per employee in the police department over here?
$9,000.
It costs, I actually had that figured out of something separate,
So
but
you've got a $9,000 request, and now obviously you've got to clothe 2 part-time people and have to go here, but I just was curious to know what,
so, yeah, 9,000 is, well,
Uniforms.
is the uniform line, so that includes, I figure it's a little over 5,000 for a full-time officer with everything head to toe. Now, replacing, obviously some things like badges, you only wear them, you know, if they wear out to the point where they're not legible, they get damaged, then you might replace them. So that, for example, the officer that left, to put somebody back into that spot, assuming that nothing fits, for clothing, we're talking about $2,500. But if we start adding an officer, a part-time officer, well, now I've got to add a handgun, there's another $500.
yeah, but that's not your uniform line, is it?
No, but I'm saying all total to equip somebody, that's not my, you're right, that's not in my uniform line,
If
but
you look at the uniform,
part of what,
new equipment,
The
and
body armor.
conference and training, you combine all 3 of those, the increase is $14,000. I mean, that's over what he did last year, and that's.
part of it is because it's, you know, about for the body armor, there's about $4,000. I think I got a little more than that because I,
3. Yeah,
huh?
3 is what's in here.
Right, but then I also had some, I think I had to replace some plates too. 4,000 for body armor replacement, yeah. So I was gonna do plates this year, yeah. So that's a part of it. Obviously, with a part-time officer, we're not buying as many shirts and pants as we are necessarily with the full-time per se, but it's still, just bought a pair of pants, it's $110 for a pair of pants.
What do they normally have, 2 sets?
We normally have 2 sets.
2 sets.
Uh,
And with that, those are we placed on an annual basis or
As needed,
as needed?
we replace them.
Yeah, reps and tears.
The big jump there is, one, we have to replace body armor, and then equipping 2 part-time officers.
Which may or may not happen. I mean, what we discussed, and I think what we ended up doing with this budget, was allowing for different scenarios,
Right.
and you gotta finance all of them. So ultimately, if the chief is successful in hiring a full-time officer, then the necessity of a part-time is decreased, or 2
Right.
part-times is decreased. And if he hires a fully fledged 20-year veteran of police force, it's gonna cost us X for that police officer. But if you hire somebody out of the academy, they're starting at a lower pay grade. We can't assume that he's gonna hire the lowest cost.
It's gonna be a moving target.
Right, so there's a
for
lot of money, or there's some money in this budget that just reflects options that may or may not be exercised.
Right. It's hard to
Yeah.
know exactly what's going to happen. I mean, out of the interviews the other day, one was full-time certified with several years of experience, the others were not certified. But it's also extremely competitive.
So there's a situation where if you choose the candidate that's not certified and maybe hasn't been to the academy, that's money we have to spend
Right.
to send that person.
Mhm.
You know, hopefully we get some kind of contractual agreement to have them stay and work, and your salary level's lower, but your upfront costs are higher.
And it's 4 months that
Yeah,
you don't have
police
somebody.
officer.
Certification reciprocal from state to state?
Partially. You have to come, it depends on the state and how long it lapsed. What you have to do is, if somebody does not have a certification but they have experience, we have to file a form, I don't know the number of it, but the letter of it, but you file a form for certification based on prior training and experience. And you have to have a hearing with the Police Standards and Training Council, and they'll sit and they'll look at it. They kind of have a matrix, if you will. If you're New Hampshire certified and you've been out less than 6 months, I think it is, they just basically will paper you back, you're good. If you take you have to take you have to get a medical, physical, and a physical agility test. If you've been out more than 3 years, there's a possibility you'd have to go right back to the academy. So they have if you're out from more than a couple of years, you'll have to take everybody that's newly certified, and that means if you just get out 31 days, you have to take a PT test and a medical test. And anybody coming from another state has to go through that. And if they're coming from another state and they're doing it, they have to do it every 3 years, which has been an issue with some people coming from other states that maybe have retired, want to start a career here. All of a sudden they're like, I have to come every 3 years down to the academy and do this. No thanks. If they go, so a lot of times, the short answer, a lot of times it's just a law package. They have to go to classes and actually just find out about New Hampshire law. as long as their academy is accepted here, and most are, because ours is one of the shorter in the country.
Where are you advertising for the position? Is it a nationwide search?
I average, well, it's on the internet, so it could be.
No, I didn't
Could
know.
be international in a sense that way, but put it in the local papers, I put it on the New Hampshire Municipal Association website. It went out in the Police Standards and Training Council bulletin. It went out, it was on the New Hampshire Chiefs of Police website, so it's been a few places. And plus, without doing that, I went to the Great Bay Community College, their testing alliance. I'm part of that alliance, so they just automatically send me the results. I don't have to pay for that at all, so. As far as paid advertising, I just did the local, well, I say local, all the Salmon Press papers, which cover a significant part of the state, but frankly, I don't think that's what I'm hearing with the generations now that may not be an effective. Advertising on the Municipal Association website, internet ads are probably more effective nowadays, but we made that effort anyways. And word of mouth.
Just last question, do you feel that these numbers that you've got here, or I guess that the selectmen changed, is the absolute lowest this could go?
No, I just said we could drop the repairs maintenance probably to 7460 like last year. I'd like to,
Yeah, keep going.
we might be able to take, even if we just go to one portable, there's 3,300 off the 17.2 right there. Let me look at that number two further. There's another possibility in that. I just got prices on the alright, so on that alright, so I would take that down.
And I don't mean to put you on the spot, I mean,
No.
do you want to review those things that he's knocking down, or are we just gonna approve that?
I
Or?
think, take 3,600, take that down to,
You're taking 3,600 off of it?
take 4,600 off of it.
Off which line?
New equipment,
New equipment, so
Yeah.
minus
So now we're back.
4,600.
and yeah, take 4,600. That's, we would be eliminating one portable and cutting the hard armor down to $1,000. I don't think I need to. I checked with some vendors about those plates because the dates are soft body armor. So we have soft body armor and then we have hard body armor. Our hard body armor was, some of it's like 10, 12 years old, but I talked to some of the vendors and they're like, as long as it's not ceramic and broken, you're good. There is one set that's, he called it, some people call it old milk jugs, it's polyethylene. But they're thick, but it's light, but it does degrade with time. But the steel ones do not necessarily degrade, that's why I was kind of surprised. They're out of warranty, so whose liability if they fail? It's on us, but it shouldn't fail. The soft body armor, which is under the uniforms, is that is a 5-year replacement. That's kind of with time, the materials degrade enough that they won't necessarily meet the ratings anymore. So I would still leave 1,000 for one set of body armor in the, so I took 4,600 off because I took one portable out and I took out 3 of the sets of the hard plates. The other one I would want to replace for 2 reasons. One, it's the polyethylene, I'm sure it's beyond its lifespan. And secondly, it's a type 3, and we'd rather have a class 4 standalone, and it's beyond its lifespan anyways, so.
And then for the, just out of curiosity, the office supplies, the software, is that
Yeah.
all just set prices? Because it did go up $1,000, I'm just curious if RMS, antivirus, that's all just set pricing, or
That-
legal, the 1,800?
The what?
The 1,800 for legal software?
Yeah, that, right now, thought, that office was more than 6250. I thought we were right up near it. I don't know. For some reason, I thought Risa was up near it. I know it says that. I thought we were more. So one of the things we're looking at doing is expanding our connectivity with, I'm saying that wrong. Connectivity with being able to, data exchange. So that's one of those increases.
Okay.
So you're saying we can take $4,600 off the bottom line?
Well, you can take more than that. You can take,
$1,304.
That's the figure I knew you were,
From
doing the
what-
meeting
from
count.
what-
600 there,
Someone's doing the math.
and then this one would be
740.
740,
5340.
340, and the other, yeah. 340. And obviously it goes back to, the uniforms. I don't know if we'll end up with, like I said, if we end up with, say somebody works full-time in a neighboring town, wants to work some part-time, well, they're probably gonna do a shift or two when their schedule allows it, versus, if I get somebody who just is part-time, So I mean, if I get somebody like that, that's only gonna work a shift or two once in a while, I might need two people versus, that would do that, versus if I had somebody who.
And that's a discussion that happens during the year. I mean, the chief isn't gonna hire somebody without going through the selectmen.
Right.
I hope.
No, we understand that.
So if it looks like we're gonna get a part-time police officer for 5 hours a week, we're gonna start looking at the uniform and equipment lines and saying,
Is it
how
worth
much,
it?
how much do we want to invest in 5 hours a week? So I think that's a discussion that happens during the course of the year.
Mhm.
Right, and that's always an issue in talking with other chiefs, when they start having, 5 or 6 part-timers, and yet you only get them once in a while to work. Is it really worth it? Because you're chasing them for reports, you're chasing them for this, and you're still required to maintain all your equipment on them, and they have to go through firearms training, they have to go through use of force training, they have to go through so many hours of continuing ed every year. And at that point I know a lot of chiefs, and I'm frankly, I'm not a huge fan of part-time officers that are only gonna work a shift or two a week, or when it fits, because you spend a lot of time without, and a lot of expense up front with very little return, and you gotta expect that though, because that's not their bread and butter. They get a regular job they have to answer to and pay the bills, if you will, for a
And there's
lot
no
of this.
commitment. I mean, that's the other issue. That's why I don't believe in part-time anything, because we need commitment from 4 officers for Tuftonboro. They need to be Tuftonboro police officers. That's what we've had historically, and that's what we should have.
The only advantage to it though is you can save significant money on some of your benefits, and but you end up sometimes paying a lot up front to, that's all I just say, throwing that out.
I think it's important to note that, this is a budget for the coming year, and it is taking into consideration the insecurity that's coming up this year with this budget, with this entire budget. So I think at least the budget is recognizing the fact that you're trying to deal with smoke down in the future, because you're not quite sure what the coming year is gonna partake.
If I knew for sure that all 4 well, first off, like I said, out of the ones that we did the oral interviews with, only 1 was certified. whether or not that person ends up being the selection, obviously that weighs in that person's favor, but I don't know that it's gonna necessarily shake out at the end. If that were great, then that's 3 full-time, first of the year will be good. If that doesn't work out and I have to send someone to the academy, well, then now we're 4 months, actually almost 6 months by the time training's done and back in the academy. At 6 months where we're still short somebody. And the other thing, I can't guess what the other officers, I strongly suspect there's gonna be some times he's gonna have to take some time and off. And it could be,
And then just one other question, because you didn't do the calculations, but the pay increase, I think it went up almost 7% on some of these. Is that what the pay increases are, or is it just a step up, or?
it's also an extra week of pay.
Oh, is that what it is?
So it's a combination of step, the cost of living adjustment, and the extra week.
Gotcha.
That's, my first budget I turned in, I had 52 paychecks, and
I would have approved that.
Do we have a calculation of what's been reduced?
5340 is what I've said.
Oh,
That's what I've
just on
said
this
anyways.
one. So it's been reduced by 5340, which would make it $442,923.
442,000.
923.
442,923. I move that we approve the police department budget 4210 in the amount of $442,923.
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded. We have further discussion on this. Forthcoming, those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I know you said we don't have to justify, but I just wanted to point that the only reason why I'm saying no is just tentatively, because I want to see what we're going to put in at the end, if it's going to reduce, because this was the biggest increase. So it's more to just see what the total is at the end. So it's not a no because of the numbers, it's a no because I just want to see what the total ends up being. So I'm a little nervous that it is a big bump.
The total town budget or just the total?
Yeah, just what the total effect is going to be, because we usually put general fund stuff into lowering that, so I just want to see the total effect
But
at the end.
that's cumulative as we go through the process.
Correct, but this is such a big increase that I want to see at the end, which is what, the end is where we get all of our netting done. So I just want to see at the end. So it's not a, I like that you lowered some stuff, that was a good effort.
I voted no because
You have
Oh,
to.
you voted no.
I've already approved one budget. And I think the 15, I mean, the other thing I have to look at is we run the budget all year long. So it's our duty, I think, to underspend budgets and to keep a lid on who we hire and how much we spend on doing employees. So I think having the options that we put into the original budget that the selectmen created, I think was a better way to approach it, but that's why we have a budget committee.
So the vote on that was 4-3 then?
Yep.
4-3.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
I have no correspondence this evening. Nothing was come forward to me under new business, so,
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry.
since there isn't an old business, may I revisit a couple of things, or just one?
Certainly.
Good. There had been talk during the transfer station debates about scales over the years here, and using information that Clay had provided to me, he was talking that most towns are charging 8 cents a pound when they have scales, and he said 5.3 cents of that would be the actual cost of removing that from the transfer station, leaving us with 2.7 cents would be available to offset cost, is what he said. Taking his figures from 2017, which most of us got last year, I did some calculations. If all of the waste that came into the transfer station had come in over a scale at 8 cents a pound, And when it left at 5.3 cents a pound, we would have realized $1,180,980 left to offset costs.
I think you got your decimal point in the wrong spot.
Maybe I do, but I've done this several times and I have taken it to another person who's done it.
So is that just the construction debris?
No, that's all the waste, which a lot of towns do. Everyone goes across the scale.
Yeah, everyone has to
That
go.
was just
Yes,
CD.
now just the construction debris, okay, from 2017 would have gotten us $430,920. These numbers are nothing to sneeze at. My word, I don't know how anyone could think we shouldn't have a set of scales at that transfer station, but I thought I'd bring that just
No,
for people to think about.
That's very
And then, on a totally different subject, and revenues, I've had my head in this pile, which is the financial statements for all of our nonprofits in town. All right?
Those are all in town department.
Yes, I don't recommend that any of you folks, television is terrible, but it's obscene, all right? It's very obscene. I think we need to do a full assessment of the properties and then possibly negotiate our payment in lieu of taxes with quite a few of these. The churches, the actual churches that are in Melbourne Village seem to be doing quite well by us. I'm not really convinced that the others are doing us any favors at all. And I know Selectman Albies had some concerns about that as well.
Well, I mean, you have to sort of balance that out against the current Supreme Court decision.
Yes, you do. However, it's always worth looking at. And I'd just like to let you know, I've been looking. Thank you. That's what all I wanted to
I
say.
guess my only comment about the scales, and I won't
Mhm.
get into a big colloquy with you, is if we're gonna make the town into a business,
Mhm.
creating revenue, I'm no longer gonna pay my property taxes. If I can't take my waste to the transfer station, why am I paying property taxes for that portion of the budget? I mean, are we gonna bifurcate or trifurcate or quadrifate or whatever it is, the budget, down to, okay, I'll pay $16 a year for the police department, I'll pay, $25 a year for the highway department. We can't operate like that, because some people will feel as though they're paying too much. I mean, I thought, and I've always thought, and I continue to think, that even the charging of a fee for the sticker is an abuse of the taxpayer. We're paying property taxes annually for the services the town provides. That revenue source of getting sticker money, or the revenue source for a refrigerator, I think should be just part of the business of living here. I mean, especially with, I happen to have an access road that's on the edge of my property that when they got too abusive with the televisions, refrigerators, and all the rest of that stuff, tires, I'd end up cleaning that up because people would go out in the woods and dump their stuff to avoid the fee. So
Well, I'm in total agreement about the stickers, but I think if the taxpayers could actually realize how much money could be then taken from the general fund to offset taxes, they might, not all of them, because there's always going to be somebody complaining, I'm usually the one, I think they might see that in a different light. And I think it ought to be presented to the taxpayers at town meeting.
And you could, I'm sure, but, and once again, I'm not going to go into a long discussion, but when's the taxpayer going to pay? I mean, currently we pay twice a year.
Right.
Under a scenario like that, I'm paying every week. And,
Possibly.
And it's just, I'm paying for services that I
Well,
normally would have gotten.
Well, and then you have to have someone at the transfer station.
Yeah, they manage cash controls.
Well, that's included in your total expense issue.
Right.
And plus you're gonna have to redirect traffic because, but what we did this was years ago in Guilford, Connecticut, we instituted the scale system. And we had two different from contractor, we had a contractor base payment, and we also had the residential was a separate issue. and all of the scale was placed in an area where you did all of your recycling before you got to it. And then you just paid for the waste that went in. And of course, it was, you know, you got cameras you gotta worry about and things like that, but there, it was successful, and it's still in operation. But the residential population, the taxpayer, was treated with great care to make that a very minimum.
But you're still taxing somebody with 4 kids more than you're taxing old people.
Well,
Because they're not, old people, 2 people living in a house are not gonna generate the amount of trash that 6 people are.
no,
So, I mean, there may be a movement afoot to eliminate families from our community, but it's certainly not gonna go without a struggle for me.
no, as I say, you can look at that population as a total different segment than the contractor who's getting a really good shake on the system now by going and dumping. So you can treat them as 2 different parties that go over that waste scale. It doesn't have to be an even, it's something that you consider.
Well, that's,
Even just the construction debris at $400,000 would certainly be a
Well,
considerably more money, I should say, or offsetting cost than what we do now.
But
I'm not
All
in
right.
favor of
one thing
adding,
moves another thing. If you have,
Mhm.
if we're charging 8 cents a pound, I can get a container from Waste Management
Yes, you can.
at the site. Now you're making nothing.
Mhm.
So once you push your pricing
Yeah, no.
up to the market rate, now you spend $80,000 on a scale and nobody's coming by. So there's risks to doing any of these moves. And I don't
Risks to
think
getting
you-
out of bed in the
I don't
morning.
think- I don't think you can realistically say that $450,000 is gonna come into the town's coffers.
it is not pure profit.
Well, you're absolutely right. But
I think there's gonna be some considerable costs involved beyond just paying the initial cost for scales. I think there's gonna be a big hunk of operating cost. But that's something that's for a debate for another evening.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a
Well, I thought to bring that up because there was no old business on the agenda.
Well, I will make sure that all business.
Anyway, that's what I did for homework. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, and then you also get, if you make it too onerous, people just take it and dump it in the woods.
And
So much money, yeah. So
And then
don't
you
own
would-
any woodland property.
Or
you
they
have
dump
to
it- they
increase
dump it
your
in
police
somebody's
department.
dumpster at a business downtown.
Oh, I see, yeah.
Until they make the mistake of leaving their name on
And-
an envelope.
Yeah.
And then it gets
At the
redistributed.
bottom of the half a ton of garbage.
Okay, moving on then, CIP update, Helen?
Okay, we met last week, we're gonna meet again tomorrow night. We have have presentation from the library folks, and also we went over selectmen projects. At our next meeting tomorrow, we're gonna have the transfer station and the road agent. Capital capacity for this year is 869,000. However, 628,000 is going to be needed for existing projects. So that means there's only 241,000 for new projects. So it's going to be a tight year. Also, our goal is to try and have our report in process by Thanksgiving.
Okay, thank you. Selectmen's update, Chip?
Yeah, we're continuing to work on the rest of the budgets that are outstanding. One thing that both Selectman Markson and I worked on, although I didn't realize we were working on it together until just the other day, is the health insurance. There's we did get our rates, which was a week or so ago. And we are gonna have to make some adjustments to the plan that we currently have. So I'm not ready to bring that forward. It's
Okay.
in the tens of thousands. Selectman Markison wanted to explore the idea of a much larger deductible. And so we did get some pricing on that. The issue, and under a couple of scenarios with $10,000 deductibles, we could actually save $40,000 or $50,000 a year. The problem I see with that is the employees are never gonna pay their deductibles, so they're gonna have a lot more out-of-pocket expenses. And I'm having the office look to see how many of our employees actually met their deductible last year. Because if they meet their deductible, I think the only way we can go to a $10,000 deductible to save some money is to, and we currently have a $3,000 deductible, is, for instance, let's say 3 of our employees met their $3,000 deductible this year. We have to assume that 3 will meet it next year, which means that the $6,000 difference has to be made up, or $7,000 difference has to be made up somewhere. So we probably have to start some kind of a fund, which would, in that scenario, have to have $21,000 in it. So if you save 50, but you have to put 21,000 bucks away, how much did you really save? And so we're working through that now to see what the issues are.
I know that my stance is not the most popular one, but I don't like taking things away from our employees. I think they work hard, they're diligent, they're excellent employees, and I think that they need to be compensated fairly.
Well, I think that kind of weighs into it, but more importantly, I don't think you can actually hit them over the head with a $7,000 increase in their deductible in 1 year. So
I totally agree with that.
I mean, and we certainly can't afford to lose people. But on another point to do with healthcare and time and leave and that sort of thing, is we did establish a it's a bank. What's the first word, Karen?
Catastrophic leave.
Catastrophic leave bank. So in the event that you've had an incident and you're out of commission beyond the level of your current holiday, sick, and vacation pay and leave, other employees can donate their sick or vacation or whatever, and it's worked out really well. I've had a lot of donations for particular employees, so everybody's happy, and the net benefit is that it's not actually costing us anything to keep that employee, but we are keeping the employee.
Good.
Okay. Thank you very much. Next meeting date, I have is the 15th of November. You have a problem with that, right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna make that.
All right.
Thursday?
Yeah, Thursdays. Good.
Isn't that the planning board day?
Yeah, they'll be at the townhouse that night.
So
Ours will be at the townhouse, I mean.
Wait a minute. We're gonna have a planning board and then we're gonna have a budget committee on the same night.
You're gonna have to get another cameraman, aren't you?
Well, I'm talking to you right now. I'll teach you anytime you want. I just can't cover both of them at once. And it's it's important.
I know they said they wanted them a lot on the agenda that night for the planning board, if that helps.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
was there a reason we went to Thursday?
Couldn't do.
And the reason was,
That was my fault, yeah, because I had previously done plans. I'm not here that Tuesday. I'm not in town because of the holiday, that long holiday.
well,
How about Wednesday?
we do it the 14th.
Someone couldn't do it
Friday?
Wednesday.
I think I couldn't do it
Yeah.
Wednesday.
Friday?
Lloyd and Bill keep putting together Friday meetings for me. I'm limited to one.
You can't do Wednesday?
Wednesday is CIP.
Oh, all right. Well, then I guess it's gonna be the 15th.
I can do Friday.
I can do that. That's not a problem. Friday. My nights are pretty much up.
I could do Monday, which is Veterans Day.
I won't, the office is closed, yeah, that's why I had like a.
We'll stay with, all right, we'll stay with the 15th then. Okay. Public input?
I already gave it.
Not forthcoming then, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second, those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.